Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of In the Dark. I am back here with Matt G.
In his house.
Yeah, he's happy to be here with us. Wanted to continue on with some of his stories. It's been a few weeks here. Apparently, we all forgot his birthday yesterday.
It's all right. No worries,
We're
man.
we're still living that
It's
way.
just another day.
The whole family blew up his phone like an hour ago.
Yeah. And I was all like, oh, yeah, that was yesterday.
He sent everybody
Yeah.
messages that.
Why you coming at me with old stuff?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be
That was
laughing.
yesterday,
It's
man.
terrible.
Yesterday.
It's just terrible.
It's all right.
So anyway, but we're sending a shout out to Matt G's birthday for yesterday.
Yeah, it's fam. It's all fam. You know what I'm saying?
So last week, we kind of got off on a tangent here. I was talking to Matt, and he started a story about a TV, something that happened when he was it the Bronx?
We were talking about, some of the incidents when I was a young person in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And it went off on the thing with the dog. And then, like stuff coming in, through the foyer, the ceiling. But you reminded me about the time with that darn black and white TV in my room, and I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. Heck no, I maybe 4 or 5, and it was just I was a big watcher of Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street, like Big Bird taught me how to juggle. I mean, it was during the time of PBS and such, and I'm in the Bronx. You only had 7 stations, and like I said, I had a black and white TV. So I was watching Mr. Rogers, man, in my room, and I shouldn't have been. It was like after hours, and Mr. Rogers shouldn't even have been on. So I don't even know if it was a dream or not. I have no idea. But all I remember, man, is that Mr. Rogers got real close to the screen, and his face was up against the screen, staring at me, and my whole room went red. Whole room went red, and then this weird shadow shape, whatever the rocket was, went like all over like the wall in my room, and Mr. Rogers was just staring at me in this black and white TV, and I was darn near paralyzed, and all I remember was it took everything in my body just to jump out of my bed and run out of my door and see my mom.
How old were you again?
I could not have been more than 5. I mean,
Wow.
you know how 3, 4, 5 kind of blends together.
Yeah.
But you gotta understand is that all this stuff happened around that time when I was just a little person.
Yeah.
When your perceptions are so strong, like your sense of smell, your sense of sight, and it all happened, shortly after that foyer fell through. Like all these weird, like my mom would talk about shadow people. My older brother did too, seeing shadows, like seeing someone walk by their room. My older brother charged me up all the time because he thought I was like messing with them.
Yeah.
Like outside the shower curtain when he was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And there I am on the other side of the apartment watching, Saturday morning cartoons. And he was like, why are you messing with me in the bathroom? And I'm like, yo, I wasn't doing nothing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course it ended up with me running around the house so that he wasn't, beating me up and stuff. But it was one of those things. But yeah, that freaked me out, and I remember that. And to this day, I mean, I probably have embellished the shadow, as far as maybe having horns and claws and stuff. But this shadow was interesting. And then I remember when I was a teenager, when that first It show came on TV. With the guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is by far the best It. I don't care about this new It. The old It, that was nuts.
Yeah.
The way he portrayed that as this kind of like this, heavy
Wasn't that
set
the guy
kind of
that did
older.
the Romeo and Juliet movie?
Romeo
Was that
and
the
Juliet.
John? Is that the guy that played the It?
No,
The
man, we're talking about the dude. He was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The guy in the
Okay.
tights.
Oh, I know who you're talking. He died. He recently died. I
Yeah,
think.
well, and he got Alzheimer's and
Yeah,
stuff, which
I
was
know who you're
sad.
talking
But I mean,
about.
do you know there were a lot of like rock bands back in the 60s and 70s that wanted him as a front man?
Yeah, isn't that
because
crazy?
that boy could sing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the shadow guy in like the Fern Gully.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Like
about.
I mean, he
had
was
like a big mouth kind of. He always had like.
he
this
was
really large
also
mouth.
the devil in that Tom Cruise movie.
Wow.
Remember that Tom Cruise movie, like with fairies and stuff? Remember the best devil ever in cinema, where he was all big and menacing and he had the
You're
big...
talking about Are you talking about what
Well,
is it
Tom
called?
Cruise is in it.
Yeah, what was it
He was
called?
like 17 years old.
Gosh, he was in it with Mia Farrow or no,
Was it
Mia, not Mia Farrow. It was me or who was that girl? She had dark hair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Legend.
Legend.
Yes,
That's
Legend.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was, and I forget his name. Tom something. I forget his name, but that was him.
Yeah, I know he had
That was
brown
him
hair
in
that was kind
crazy
of
makeup.
wavy.
Yeah.
Yep, I know.
And I also love him in Clue. He was a butler in Clue.
Yeah.
You know, that was the guy. But
Wow.
but I remember years later when I watched that movie Clue,
Mm-hmm.
it always reminded me of watching that black and white TV and how in the movie Clue, how like when you were watching like photos,
Mm-hmm.
how the photos all of a sudden came to life and were staring at you. That's what the TV did to me. Like it went beyond the broadcast, where all of a sudden now I was like the primary in the show, and Rogers, you know, in the land of make believe, was like staring at me.
So where they
And then
chose
this
Mr.
weird-
Rogers,
Yeah.
because he was such an innocent type of, just
Well, yeah, but he was also portraying the land of make believe. And do you know Mr.
Sure.
Rogers did all the voices in that?
yeah, I know.
He did all the voices in the land of make believe,
Yeah,
which
know.
is
I
kind of
remember that
bananas.
even when I was a kid. I remembered. I used to love that show. I used to think it was so cool. Well, we liked a lot of them. I'll still never forget Eddie Murphy's his rendition of
Yeah,
Mr. Robinson's
that was Mr. Robinson's
That had
neighborhood.
to be one of the funniest things I ever
Yeah.
saw. And that was on Saturday
Hello,
Night
boys
Live.
and girls.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. I mean, back then, because comedy was, you didn't have so much of what's going on now. Like, you weren't
everything
bombarded.
today is all blown out.
Yeah, but I mean,
bro.
when we were kids, like, you only had select stuff going on, so everything seemed so much funnier. Now, if you look back at it, since we're so kind of desensitized, it's not as funny.
Well, no, you
know?
look back at it now and you're almost more shocked. You're like, how did that stuff pass? Because he's all like, today's word, boys and girls, is ransom.
Right.
We ransomed the dog out of the yard.
I couldn't believe it.
Like,
Oh,
well,
God.
I mean, and I showed you Blazing Saddles the other day, and you were like, what?
Oh, I couldn't believe
You were
that.
like, what?
No,
And
don't even
I
go
know,
there.
and I'm like,
Don't even go there.
That's what I'm saying is that we've regressed.
Yeah.
We've regressed into who the hell we are.
That's awful.
Or who the heck we are.
So now you said there was another. So is that all that
Well,
happened?
no,
with that then?
you were talking about the whole TV thing.
Yeah.
And there is a big thing to do with like when you're focused on a certain like element, and usually it's a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in Brooklyn, I was probably this is elementary school. I'm probably guessing 5th or 6th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and every morning I would come downstairs, and I was a big cartoon dude. I mean, I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning just to watch like Mask and Smurfs and He-Man and all that stuff.
Right.
And my dad at the time would get me like hot chocolate or hot tea.
Yeah.
And hot tea was real big in my house. You know, we always had, you know, herbal teas and stuff. And dude, I had like 6, you know, spoonfuls of sugar. I mean, Mary Poppins was big, and, you know, a spoonful of sugar makes everything goes down well. But anyway,
Yeah, unfortunately.
well, I remember watching TV, and then all of a sudden the TV was like a million miles away. I was on a couch, and you're talking. These are city apartments. Like, rooms they're not big. So when I'm sitting there on the couch with my head on the arm of the couch, and I'm looking at the TV, it's only maybe 10, 12 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden this TV went so far away, and then there was no sound. There was no sound. And I was like not paralyzed, but I was just fixated on this TV.
Right.
And then like other sounds came into play. And for some reason, whenever I talk about things that happened in the past, there's always something that happened shortly thereafter in the future that somehow reminds me or coalesces to that moment in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I remember was Hobbs End with Sutter Kane in the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Is where that moment where like your reality just extends like beyond your perception, and then there's all these weird sounds outside of what you're trying to watch, and it's almost like what you're watching is like 3 or 4 octaves lower than this weird sound going on around. And I remember being this kid, man, with my hot tea, trying to watch cartoons, and the TV is a million miles away, and then there's all this audible, like I can't describe it, just noises or sound or guttural, like just talking or I mean, I can't explain it. And then
Almost like you kind of stepped into a different dimension.
and then within moments, boom, you're back to normal. And then when I got older and stuff and got into like some of the things I talked about with like cybernetics and biofeedback and stuff, is I found out that some of that stuff is borderline witchcraft, is where you're tapping into a different realm.
Right.
And man, and that's the first, only, and last, hopefully, time that ever happened. And it was something that like you feel like almost like, in those video games you play where like a grenade goes off and there's that weird, like, like that audible, and you're all disoriented, like you're in war. That's what it felt like. You're just disoriented. And there's just weird noises going everywhere. So
were they kind of muffled to some degree?
Well, it's almost inaudible. Like it's there, but there's sounds that like you can't comprehend the sound.
Right.
Like you're in a different place. And people talk about when different hereafters and such, where you're visibly seeing like colors that you cannot, you can't identify the color. Mm-hmm. These were sounds that I had no idea. And plus I was a child. How are you supposed to know? Like, but to this day, I remember that moment. And the only thing that has ever really spawned that memory again was that in the Mouth of Madness movie, when the pages open up and he's like, boosh, and all, and like his reality just gets sucked like a mile away. And then all those weird sounds start kicking up. So
it kind of reminds me when I was a kid. I remember I used to stare into the depths of mirrors, and I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I used to do it all the time, constantly, because I was fascinated. I started doing it, and I would look in a mirror, and I noticed if I stared in it long enough, everything around my face would change and get dark, and it would all change, and I would change into something else, like a different person or thing or whatever. And I did this all the time, and then when I found out later when I was older that it was a form of witchcraft, and I didn't know that when I was a kid, but I found out later that it was, it's called like looking into the depth of a mirror, and you're not supposed to do it.
You think about that mirror magic and looking through the looking glass and, Alice in Wonderland, and things like that is that all of our stories and all of what we experience. Okay. There is an absolute like a genesis to all of this that we're all a part of. We're all connected, and when those stories come about, like like Candyman and what was it, like Rose Red or Red Bud or whatever the heck it was, when you look in the mirror and you said the name 3 times, and
oh oh my God,
it's that mirror magic stuff. So I mean, it's true. And I think it all goes back to that.
That's correct. I always wondered what that could have done to me. Was we don't know, we don't really know when we do things, even as kids, like people that play with Ouija boards and stuff. I mean, what follows us then? What's been walking with us our whole life that we're not even aware of? What's attached itself to us from all that? And I mean, who knows?
Well, I've been like a big believer. Like I think at times you might think I'm a little goofy, but when I mow the yard, I say that I put wards on the property. Yeah. And I'm a big believer, that if you walk your land and you put wards on your property, okay, in the name of Jesus, please protect my family, yada yada yada, all those, all that good stuff, is that I believe that over time that everything follows all of us. Okay, because we're on his plane. Okay, well, we're on the sun's plane, okay, which would be Satan. All right. So as long as that, we maintain, our fatherly principle, and we make the best steps we can forward, that's what protect us.
Mm.
And when you're a child, it comes like you were saying with your children, with the wizard coming through the
Oh,
window.
that was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fear those kids had. I
yeah,
talked about that in a much
yeah.
earlier podcast.
I mean, honestly, I mean, it comes to children because children are the innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can tap into that. Okay, you can manipulate that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why some of the ungodly things that happen in our world today happen to children, because that innocence, okay, is very powerful. And if you're able to manipulate that or control that or consume that, God forbid, on that
That was
weird,
crazy. I'll never forget
if you're
that.
able to do that's where that power lies. So yeah, we probably do walk through our lives, with some of that attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we all do. And the only way that you battle that attachment is by the grace of the Lord.
Yeah. So, I was talking to you about some alien encounters. I asked you if you had had any other encounters, and you said to me that there were like something with gravel.
Oh.
But you said it wasn't, I don't know if it was like crop circles, park and garage, or something that you'd said something about park and garage.
I finished high school out in Milwaukee, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a suburb of Milwaukee. And there was a place called like Root River Parkway in Whitnall Park. It was, I don't know how many acres it was, but it was this vast area that we all could get lost in,
Mm-hmm.
late at night. There was almost no one ever out there, but there were all these trails, and a lot of the trails, especially around the golf course, which was Whitnall Park, it wasn't like the wood chips. I mean, this was like white stone. I mean, it was really nice, and we used to walk through there. I mean, half the time we didn't have flashlights. We just walked, with the moonlight and stuff, and just young kids, just hooting and hollering, doing whatever's. Well,
being stupid,
being dumb. Well, we came into this almost like this cul-de-sac that was all white gravel, and there were these huge etchings that were deep in this gravel, huge etchings, and this was right on the edge of like some of these lakes that were around the park, which were nice. You could go fishing there. They had docks. I mean, it was a nice area.
Always around water.
Yeah,
it's always around water.
And we were there, and I was the one who noticed it, because I think I might have been the one holding the flashlight. And I'm like, yo, look what's on that. So then we started walking around the perimeter, and this perimeter was it was probably, I'm assuming, I do everything by football fields, by yards. So it was probably a good, 40 yards by 40 yards circle. And there was this huge etching in this, and we're going along and going, is this a bird? Is this a turtle? What the, I mean, we're going through this whole thing. And then the whole back end of this lake on the back side, probably another 200 yards away, just lit up.
Wow.
It just lit up, and then stuff just went boosh to the sky.
You're kidding me.
And we were all there.
Like what they call it, the submersible.
I don't know if something came out of the water or what, but it just went goosh, and then it was gone. And it looked like when Gandalf says the calm before the storm, yeah. And all of a sudden that light opens up in Mordor, and they're all like, oh man, now it's on. That's what it was like, but it was just a flash.
Now, do you think it came out of the water?
Oh, we have no idea. I don't know if it came out of the water, if it was just, but all we know is that we were there, and we were there for a while.
Okay.
And I always wondered later on, like, was something like visual, like were they watching us? And then all of a sudden, boosh, they decided to go.
So you came upon these etchings that look like almost like crop circles.
And we were walking for a good hour or so. Like we're back in, like, there's no houses, there's nothing around. This is the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin.
Yeah, of course.
And from a city boy going, I'm a city mouse going to the country. It was interesting for me. I ran all over the woods. It was cool as heck, because you would see like great cranes, and I mean, it was kind of neat, man, being back in the woods. And no lie, it was probably, I mean, 200 yards is far away.
So you don't
There
know
was,
if it was in the water.
but it looked like almost like an immediate sunrise, and then it was gone. It happened so fast, but you knew the motion was upward.
Wow.
And then we all just looked at each other like, okay, we need to go. We were trying to get to like the main part of the golf course, because doesn't matter. But so we went back to where the vehicle was parked, because I think I won't mention names, but I think his older brother drove, so we had to pile into his van to leave. So and we left there in a hurry.
It's funny. I read my not the last podcast, the one before that, I believe it was that one, or the one before that. There was a story about kids that came into this golf course that was private, and they saw some crazy stuff.
Well, I don't doubt it.
Wow, that's crazy.
I don't doubt it.
I wonder if it's the same golf course.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
I mean, they tend to be private, a lot of the land and stuff there. But that's amazing. God, that's amazing.
And some of the etchings, it was so bizarre, and they were so deep. And ironically, I think a few weeks later, we were riding bikes and stuff. We wanted to go fishing and stuff. We were back in that way, and the gravel was fine.
Gone.
The gravel was pristine. And this stuff was deep. I mean, like imagine like Gandalf with his staff, like digging into the ground. It wasn't just played with and kicked up. And this went basically the whole perimeter of the area.
Somebody covered it up.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now you said something about, now was park and garage. Was that something with a park and garage we were talking about earlier? I just jotted down.
Park and garage.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that meant.
A parking garage?
Parking garage, maybe. Was there something with a parking garage?
I don't know nothing ever happened to me in a parking garage.
Now, you did...
Although that is a spooky place.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure.
You don't mess around in parking garages, man.
Well, I was taking notes because I was like, he has so many, Matt's had, like I told you guys last week, he's had so many encounters, and so have I, and we literally have to, like, it isn't like one thing has happened to us that you remember. It's like hundreds of things all through your life, so you literally have to jog your memory and make little notes to yourself that, it's just... I don't even know how people can have so many encounters, but somehow we do.
I've always said that I've forgotten more than I remember.
Oh my gosh, it's not. Some people are really...
And parking garages drive me crazy, I stay away from that.
No, I jotted down park and garage. I'm not sure, but then right after it was the Bon Air. You said about the ashtrays?
Yeah, no, okay. Well, in Bon Air, which is... Bon Air is part of the ABC Islands in the Caribbean, or Caribbean, however you say it. It's about 80 miles off the coast of Venezuela. It's part of the Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. And Bonaire is a small coral island that I don't even know how my grandparents ever found this place. But I guess it was probably in the late 60s, early 70s, my grandfather found a few bearing walls on like the far end of this island near a lighthouse, and constructed a really nice place. And I was a kid that I went to scroll school in the Bronx, and then went to PS 207, and I would vacation in Bon Air. It was a little bit of a twisty, like when I watched Harry Potter for the first time, I was like, holy I actually was a kid in the cupboard. And then I went to Hogwarts every summer. And
it's true.
Basically, man. So in this place called Bon Air, which I believe it either means good air or flat land. I don't know which one it is. They speak Papimento, which is, when I was a kid, I could actually speak Papimento, which is kind of cool. I have no idea how to speak it now. But it doesn't matter, because it's completely different than what it ever was. Now it's been all, I mean, I think like Sports Illustrated did a swimsuit thing there, and National Geographic said it was like outside of the Great Barrier Reef. It's probably one of the best places in the world to scuba dive. So like it's been all built up now.
They've brought attention to it.
It's sad.
Yeah.
But this is just before my grandmother's death. I think I was 16, so that had to be like 92. We were down there, and the reason why I remember this is that my grandparents had to leave, because they lived there for about 18 years straight, um, and they started having to go stateside to get medicine and to relax and to get, proper medical care and all that stuff, because you know down there you can't dial 911. I mean, one of the funny things about that island is if anyone ever ticked you off, you just took them to that side of the island and you fed them to the sharks.
Threw him in with the shark.
There you
He's
go.
told me stories
There
about
you
he
go,
thinks,
boss.
yeah.
Yeah. So I remember there was this crazy storm, and there were different sections to this complex that my grandfather built. And the main section, which had the hot water, because that's where like the hot water heater was, which was run off of propane, you could seal that area down pretty tightly. Like it had wooden shutters, wooden doors. So if there was anything as far as any intruders or whatever, which there was known to happen on that island, folks that don't have much, they go to places where folks might have a little bit more. So that was the one area of the compound that you could go to and be safe. And you also went there too when there were storms, because it had four bearing walls that had been there for like, I don't know, like 120 years. And that's where my grandfather built the main part of that complex. So we were all in, it was me, my mom, and my younger brother at the time. My younger brother was, he's 4 at the time. If I'm 16, he's 4. So we're chilling out in this place, and we needed more oil for the lamps inside the house. And the oil, I mean, it's one of these horror movie things, man. It was nuts. The oil is on the other side, which we called the weed hut. So I had to go, like, I mean, it's only like maybe like 40 yards away, but it's scary, man, because at night in Bon Air, like the whole ground moves. Like you got hermit crabs rolling everywhere, right? There's scorpions, there's donkeys, there's like weird like lizards. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's almost like Final Fantasy, but for reals. So I'm walking through this area. There's like 2 gates. I go through the 2 gates, and I smell cigarette smoke, and I get this like just this ominous feeling, and I'm like, okay. So I went into the weed hut, and then I got the first canister of oil that I could grab, close everything up real quick, and I just got the rock out of there. So then the very next day, and it was so weird because when you're on the island, man, like storms can happen, and then all of a sudden within like 15 minutes, it's all like beautiful again. It's all like crazy, evil storms, lightning, big waves, and then 15 minutes later, it's like like Toontown. Like it was bizarre. So the next day, everything's fine, everything's cool, but I went on the other side of and the compound had walls around it. I went on the other side of the compound, and right in this corner of where the weed hut is, there were all these cigarette butts on the ground, and they weren't old. So was there a dude there smoking cigarettes? And if you stood there, and I was 16, I was a shorter dude. I was like 5'6" at the time. If you were like 6 or 6'2" and you were leaning over, you could see over that wall.
What do you think, it was a person or a spirit?
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know if it was a person, but I remember and why would you be smoking cigarettes in the middle of a storm? Because I was soaked. Like when I got back to the main house, like with the oil, I was soaked.
Now,
how could you be smoking cigarettes in the middle of a rainstorm? And there was no canopy over there. On that side of the there's no canopies anywhere, unless you're inside of a building.
So is this the same place that your mother had some spooky
encounters
in?
Well, my grandmother in the big house, that's where she encountered like what she referred to as the Wailing Witch. And she told the Wailing Witch, I don't want to see you, and go away. And it never bothered anyone ever again.
Why was it called the Wailing Witch?
Because it would make weird noises.
So weren't there, and I hate to use this term, were there like huts that were for people that were like,
Well, the bearing walls that my grandfather found, there was a slave trade.
Yeah.
Part of the complex on the one end, you could easily dock ships there.
Okay.
And there were, I think, probably 20 or maybe 20 huts that were out back that were refurbished. that were smaller homes for indentured servants.
So is that there was something I remember your mom telling me. We were sitting out by the campfire one night, and she was saying that she had an experience in one of those huts, and
Well,
you and I thought you did too. I thought you had something that happened that chased you kind of out of it, like you were really uncomfortable.
well, there was where we were playing. We would always play hide and seek in those huts when I was a
Mm-hmm.
younger kid, and there were other families that stayed. Well, it was ironic because my grandparents never stayed in the big house. They would never stay in, and the big house was beautiful.
Why?
They would never stay in that big house, and I think it was because my uncle was there one time, and he never explained why he never went back. And my uncle's a big man,
What?
and he never went back.
Yeah, he was an IRS hunter,
Yeah,
like a hunter for
like
the IRS.
he like the guy like 6-7 years doing
Service. He was in the
no,
army.
he was a linguist, code breaker
Yeah,
in the army, and then he went into government service,
and
tracked down some big people in the
the
IRS.
big house at Bon Air chased him away. Huh?
Yes, he was there for 3 days, and never went back there in all the time we ever went there.
Wow.
He never went back there. Okay, and my grandmother, after the instance with the whatevers, like, go away now, I don't need to see you. I remember that story.
Mm-hmm.
They always stayed in the one back end, which they called that the main house,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the weed hut, and then there was the big house. The big house was like a cottage. It was beautiful. I mean, it had probably 9 rooms with the balcony and the nice downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was gorgeous.
They stayed where they were comfortable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Whether it's spiritual or whatever, something made them stay somewhere else.
But there was a while there where it got some attention, and when people would come to the island, they wanted to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandparents were like, "Yeah, heck, man, we'll rent it
Go
out.
ahead. Yeah.
We'll rent it out. No big
Enjoy
deal."
the Wailing Witch.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so there were times that there were families with kids and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and I remember playing hide and seek in the weed huts with flashlights one time, and I remember hiding in a weed hut with someone that didn't exist.
You're kidding me.
No.
Okay, describe what
No,
you saw.
he didn't
or
exist.
Felt or whatever.
All I could remember was like I was tapped on the shoulder, like follow me, come here, we're gonna get caught. And I went with them. And you understand something is that there's like 7 kids that I don't even know. So I don't even know how many kids. I mean, you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So someone taps you on the shoulder, like, come on, let's go. And we're all playing like hide and seek, where one person's trying to find everybody. And then it was almost called like manhunt, where if you found someone, then now they're also a seeker. And then you found someone, they're also a seeker. So it went down to like now you got 6 people looking for one person. Well, I remember this kid tapping me on the shoulder, and us going into one of the other, huts, the little smaller huts, and we were hiding there. And this hut had actually like a little like a divot to it, to where you can kind of like tuck yourself in. And he was in there with me. And then eventually they would go, okay, the game's over, we're done, we're not looking around no more. One of the older kids would be like, okay, come on out, let's start over again. This is getting this is getting done. And then I came out, there was nobody with me.
That's freaky.
There was nobody with me. And you know what? My mother might have told you that it's the same weed hut where there was an upside down cross on the weed hut, because there were 2 car accidents that happened there at different times that were fatal for the people inside that car. And that weed hut was painted over like 3 or 4 times. And for some reason, the rust of the upside down cross would always bleed through on that weed hut. And that was the same hut I was in, hiding with some imaginary kid.
Did you happen to glimpse him or her, or was it a boy?
Whenever I look at it, whenever I think of it now, it reminds me of Peter Pan's shadow.
You're kidding me.
No, every time I think of it, it reminds me of Peter Pan.
Oh my God. That is so freaky.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's just creepy as heck.
And ironically, my older brother, I remember talking to him about some of this stuff, and he was like, "You're just too stupid to like be affected by things." And I'm like, I guess.
You are kind of. I agree with John. He's got a point.
No, he'd always say that I'm denser than osmium. And I guess osmium is like the most densest material on the planet.
Oh, God. This is awful. It's not right. You're sick. Okay, so So is there anything else that happened in Bon Air that you can think of?
Well, there was this time where we were scuba diving. There was a kraken. No,
Get out of here.
No, I'm kidding.
He's teasing
I'm
everybody,
kidding,
okay?
I'm kidding. There was no kraken.
Quit getting everybody
I'm
waiting
sorry.
to hear a good
I'm
story.
sorry.
Okay, so now you had mentioned to me some totems in Brooklyn.
Okay.
See, this is why I take notes.
Okay,
everybody.
I know. You gotta keep me straight.
I gotta keep these little notes in here so I know what the heck we're talking about.
All right.
Okay.
In Brooklyn.
I'll be picking his brain for weeks. Okay, Matt. Every story you know.
In Brooklyn, in the same place where I had that thing happen, where the TV was like a mile away.
So you were like 5.
Maybe
older.
Yeah, I probably was. I was probably a bit older, like maybe 8 or 9.
Okay.
The boiler room was on the first floor off in the back of the apartment. And whenever you were going to the kitchen or going to the bathroom, and there was only one bathroom, so the bedrooms are upstairs. You have to walk down the steps, go through the living room, go through the kitchen, into the bathroom. Mm. You would use the bathroom, right? Sometimes you use the bathroom, and all of a sudden, the boiler would kick on. Now you had to make your way back up to your room. And as that happened, you would think as soon as you hit that bottom step, that bottom step, that something was coming from the boiler room to get you. And you had to get up them steps to that upper door, to open up that door and shut that door in order to protect yourself to get to your room.
Right.
Okay.
Which I believe there's something there when you feel that. This
happened for years. And my older brother and myself, we never said nothing to each other about any of this stuff. Okay. Never did. Okay. And years went by, it's like Thanksgiving or whatever, and we were talking about about that whole, scenario of the boiler kicking on as soon as you hit that bottom step, to get up the staircase in order to get safety up into, the top of the flight, and then you're safe. He always pictured like this big purple panther, right? Wow. And my older brother had all kinds of pictures of purple panthers in his room, mm-hmm. right? And my image was of a hooded figure, okay? And in my room, I had all kinds of pictures of hooded figures. And then my mother looked at both of us and she said, John, when you were born, I saw a panther. And Matthew, when you were born, I saw a hooded figure. Wow. And we were both like, and we no three of we never even talked about this. Never even. This is one of those moments where we're like, "Are you out of your mind?" And we both were thinking that the thing that we're afraid of might be what's protecting us. So yeah. So it was one of those weird things. And the interesting thing is that my older brother and I, we've talked about it a few times, thinking that whenever I kind of felt something from you, I felt a large cat, and whenever he looked at me, he was like, I just like felt
the devil,
something
the Grim
weird.
Reaper,
like somewhere. That's why some of the movies, like Harry Potter with the Dementors and some of this other stuff. Although the hooded figure to me isn't the Grim Reaper. He's not a druid. He's just like this hooded traveler, mm-hmm. But I never see his face.
Maybe he's a wizard or something.
I just see his chin.
Right.
But he is an ominous dude, and he's no one to be trifled with. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and there is one instance in my life where he has, in my opinion, protected me. Right. And it might have been the time I told you when I was walking home from school, and I would take this back road through the friggin' woods, and I came out behind the industrial park, and something kicked up in the winds, and something in my brain said, "You don't look back," because I that's my cardinal rule is I don't look back. But in my brain, I saw that hood and that smiling face with that chin, and I just took off running, and I went through this trail as fast as I could, and this trail composed of a few logs and stuff that were pretty sketchy along like this little river going up this embankment back behind this industrial park where there was you got spools of wire everywhere, and there were these dudes coming out of a truck, and then as I ran up on top of this this paved parking lot in the back of this industrial loop, these dudes got back in their truck real fast. Their lights came on, and I was running my buns off to get to the highway. And all of a sudden, their car went on. So I always wonder, if I was walking and taking my time, and these dudes were walking, would we have actually met up? to where they
Yeah.
could have got my ass.
Right.
Whereas this dude, whatever, in my mind, where the wind kicked up, told my buns to get moving, to get ahead of that. Because I booked across this field, got to the highway, got across the highway, and got into this. And I was looking back, and never saw that truck. But that truck was there, and those lights were on,
That's
and
really
those dudes
whack.
were out of that truck. So I was thinking, yo, man, that dude helped me out. He helped me out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really something else. I know you talked about, he always said if you ever wanted to get a tattoo, he would have done a hooded figure.
Yeah,
I was
my
like, don't,
back.
please don't.
But
do
no,
that.
I don't mark my skin.
Freak me out.
You don't want. No one should ever be a billboard for nothing.
Yeah. Just do a painting of it, put it up. But no, I wouldn't do that. I mean, that's just crazy that your mom saw that and knew to even express that to you.
Oh,
you know?
It was one of those moments where we were all talking and stuff, and the kids are there and all that stuff, and all of a sudden she's like, "Wait a minute," and she herself had a mirrored picture of a panther, and then she had that etching of like the druid that was like a moonlit scene where a druid was in just going past like a tombstone that was in her room, and we were both sitting there just looking at her going, oh my, it's like once you start connecting the dots over the time, you're like, come on, man, now that can't be real.
Crazy stuff. I'm telling you. Well, we are at the end of the show.
Fantastic.
For tonight. Matt's gonna come back again. He's got some more stories.
Really?
Yes, you really are. He's got some encounters with, I mean, the one actually was a full-blown, looked like a dog man in the park. And there was also some stuff that happened to him outside of actually our house. We live in a very creepy, really cool, but very creepy kind of area. And he's had some encounters out there with some pretty weird stuff. So I'm going to have him on hopefully next week or in a few days. And he can tell you guys about those stories. So you guys have a wonderful night. And we will be talking to you soon. Take care.